Hello, fellow thinkers. Welcome to the 11th episode of our wonderful podcast today. Again, I'm here with Brandon Seth. Brandon, I want to ask you a question. How's my audio right now?
It's doing pretty well.
Cool, perfect. So, on that note, we will start shortly. If you read the comments you are writing, guys, thank you for helping us with the algorithm. We're trying our best to get on with the YouTube game, I guess. We really want to expand this channel a little bit, and what you guys are doing, keep doing that. It's helping us. And other than that, I don't have much to say. Please don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and you may as well just share the video and the videos also. Please remember to comment about, for example, you may comment about one theme or one thing that you didn't quite understand or you want to talk about, and I'll be more than happy to respond to you. So yeah, so today we have a pretty good topic. So Brandon, what do we have today? What are we going to discuss?
Today, we're going to discuss praxeology.
Yes. So praxeology, I'll just ask you what praxeology is.
Okay.
So what is it?
So praxeology is like a subject of study in the whole field of philosophy. And
Yeah.
praxeology is the study of human action. Now, what that means is that like praxeology is kind of a form of economics, of psychology, of sociology, in that it studies the ways that humans interact with each other. Okay.
Sure.
And it basically all kind of, it has a lot of influences, but the biggest influence on praxeology is from two people. Okay. Number one is Immanuel Kant, and number
Yes.
two is a German guy named Max Weber. So
Okay.
so let me explain Immanuel Kant's contribution first. So Immanuel Kant caused the founder of praxeology, a guy named Ludwig von Mises. Immanuel Kant caused him to believe in a priori reasoning. So that is like deductive reasoning derived from pure logic, as opposed to like empirical, like sensation, such like knowledge derived from senses, basically. And then
Yes.
Max Weber, he was a German sociologist, and his big like contribution is the idea of methodological individualism, which is the idea that society can basically be reduced to interactions between like individuals, as in individuals are the only participants in society. And so you can view society as being just a system of individuals.
I see.
So then let me explain how that applies to this. So this is directly a quote from the book that founded praxeology. It's called Human Action by Ludwig von Mises. And here it reads, human action is purposeful behavior. Action is will put into operation and transformed into agency, is achieving ends and goals, and is the ego's purposeful response to stimuli and the conditions of the environment. What this means is that, like, human action, what praxeology studied, is basically like everything that a human purposefully does. So
Yes.
the reason that this is like relevant is basic. The reason that this is relevant, oh my, the reason that this is relevant is that from here, you can go on to like deductively reason about other fields of philosophy, such as ethics and economics. And those are the two big areas in which praxeology is like relevant.
I see. So essentially, praxeology is a field of study which is all about the human interactions with each other and what that what that might show about our own psyche. Is that right?
Not what that might show about our own psyche, but it also other things. So, for
So what do you mean
example,
by other things, for example?
hold
Yeah.
on, wait. Let me just, I'm just needing to make sure I get the name of this right. But here it is. So there's like 5 subtopics within praxeology.
Mm-hmm.
There's like the theory of like the isolated individual, which is like the theory of psychology. There's the theory of voluntary exchange, which is theory of economics.
Yes.
There's the theory of war, which is like just hostile action. There's the theory of games, which is like really like complex math and like game theory.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the then the last category is just like other ways in which like the study of human action can be applied. And so to go into further detail, praxeology involves like the human action axiom, which is
Mm-hmm.
basically that like people utilize means over like a period of time in order to achieve ends. They like this they they try to like obtain things
What do you
basically.
mean by that?
What do I mean by what?
What do you mean by people trying to make ends meet in order to achieve
No,
something?
no,
What do you
no,
mean
no,
by that?
no, no, not ends meet, ends, not ends meet.
Oh, okay. So, what are people making in this case? I don't understand that.
Like whenever you do something, there's an objective. You're trying to obtain like or achieve an objective.
So, what you're saying is this: when people do something, they always do it with an objective in their minds, and they try to achieve that by giving their effort, right? Into
You're
the
you're overcomplicating it. Whenever somebody does something, they are doing something. That is literally what it says, right? So
when
let's
someone does
say,
something, they're doing something.
yes, that's basically what it's saying. Let's say I write a book, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So the ends that I'm achieving is a book, and the means is writing, okay?
Cool.
So it seems very simple, and it is very simple, but the point of it is that it's completely like intuitive and that you can use this as like a starting point to like jump off and deductively develop entire like systems of philosophy basically. And that's actually what it's like best known for because the founder of praxeology was like, as I said, Ludwig von Mises, but he was an Austrian economicist. And the way he used praxeology was to theorize about like voluntary exchange, as in economics.
So, barter economy.
Yeah, as in like
So,
capitalism, like the
you
theory
mean
of
you mean direct
economics.
exchange, barter, something?
No, no, it doesn't have to be direct exchange. Like,
So that's isn't that barter economy though? Direct exchange.
no, no, you're misunderstanding what direct exchange means. If I give you like $20 and you give me like a, I don't know, a book, That's still direct exchange, even though we didn't barter.
Okay, sure.
But it
So hold on. Basically, exchange is something when it's direct. Essentially, you're taking a direct use for the object that you're receiving at the end of a trade, right?
what do you mean by you're taking a direct use?
So, so essentially, a direct. Hold on. I'm confused as to why you also brought essentially exchange and kind of economics into this idea as a
Oh,
whole of
so
human nature. So, what do you mean by why are they directly exchanging something?
they're direct. This is the third part of praxeology. They're directly exchanging something because they both have like a desire that the other
Hmm.
person can fulfill, right?
That's the part
And
I don't
they're
really
and
understand.
they're gonna use means to obtain those ends that the other person possesses. And that is gonna like fulfill their desires and provide like a motivation for their action. What do you
Maybe
not
I'm
under?
overcomplicating it. That's why.
You're probably because something I notice is that you like really analyze everything really deeply,
Uh
and
huh.
sometimes that makes you overcomplicate stuff.
So yeah. So if you if we were to, does that mean that, for example, if I want to gain something from, let's say, you, let's say I want to learn, let's say I want you to teach me how to play tennis. So
V-
is that some kind of exchange between us? Is
Yes,
that some kind of economic
let
value that we bring into our praxeological human interactions?
that is a very good question, and the answer is yes. Let's say there's a bunch of possible ways you could do this. Let's say, for example, I'm a tennis instructor, you just pay me, okay? But if I'm like a friend and you don't pay me, it's still an exchange. So in exchange for like me like teaching you lessons, you
Mm-hmm.
like hang out with me and spend time with me, and me wanting to do that to you just because we're friends or whatever, me wanting to do that is like my objective. Whatever reason I want to do it, like whether I just like to hang out with you, whether I think it's fun to teach people, whatever, I'm fulfilling my desire to do that. That
So
is
in a
what,
way, are you trading essentially with me?
yes, I'm trading. What I'm getting is whatever desire I have to teach, to hang out with you, that's being fulfilled. And whatever desire you have, such as playing tennis or hanging out with me, that's also being fulfilled. So that's basically everything is economic exchange. That's kind of one of the ideas of praxeology.
Sure. So they're bringing economy to such a level that they're essentially saying that whatever you do in your, even the simplest of your actions, essentially represent your, I guess, your economy. I'd like to say like your personal economy, because it's not an economy that involves anyone other than you. So
So,
basically, your personal economy at first, for example, if you, so I can see it now. So if I go and I learn tennis, let's say, and I spend time, in that case, I give my time in exchange for having better tennis skills. At the same time, my personal economy can essentially um, be involved with someone else's personal economy in the sense that I essentially directly trade something. You teach me. So in the end, I give you my friendship in exchange for your tennis lessons.
yeah, and like there's another like basically you're right, but there's another way to kind of simplify what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
So economics is about people like, wait, hold on. I just want to make sure I'm right about this. I don't want to say
Sure.
anything wrong. Um, Economics is basically like the branch of knowledge concerned with the production, consumption, and transfer of wealth. So economics can be understood as just like interactions between humans, and humans interact because like we have stuff that other people want. We have like materials. We also have our labor that other
Mm-hmm.
people want. Hold on.
Okay, everyone, we got back because one of us received a phone call and we need to take it. So now you'll continue. So, Brandon, I believe we were talking about how humans possess certain, for example, labor and certain things that other people want, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, continue on that note.
So humans possess things that would fulfill the desires of others, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in order to fulfill their desires, people will interact with others and exchange with them. And that is the foundation of economics, right? So it
Cool.
starts out as like we have things like primitive, like bartering, to like international trade and like monetary policy. But like that is why praxeology is so relevant, because once you say that it's reducible to simple interactions within humans, you can develop like an extremely precise system for analyzing anything in economics, to anything in psychology, to anything in any of the social sciences, pretty much.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, Ren, yeah, I think we all get the essential, essential, I guess, we get the gist of it. So, Brandon, how do you see this in your own life in a way that helps you? So, yeah, go ahead, and then I'll tell you how this kind of thinking helps me.
Explain what you mean by that.
So, for example, when you think of everything as a trade, in a way, you will always want to be on top, right? In any trade.
Well, so
So let's say you're trying to, if you're trying to learn, let's say something that's considered useless. I'm not trying to insult anyone, but let's say you're trying to learn, I don't know, what kind of crazy sports are there? Let's say, what do you call the barrel roll or something like
yeah.
that? Let's say you're trying to learn that sport. Okay, you spend hours and hours trying to achieve your goal. In that case, does that help you? Does
Yeah.
that give you any benefits in the long run?
Yes, I wanna like stress this. Something about like you have to consider that the only okay, something that you are doing is saying that you have to come out on top in a trade. So if a trade is voluntary, that means that both participants wanted to do it. If you
Yes.
want to do something, you must have a desire that would be fulfilled by that trade. Now, this is where the subjective theory of value comes in, because both people are able to benefit from the trade because they both had their subjective desires like gratified by this trade. That's why
So
it
it's mutual.
yeah, exactly. In any
Let's. Oh, I got it. I got it.
in any trade, both people want to do it because it's a voluntary trade. And therefore, it's going to be like they'll both come out on top, or it'll be a win for both of them because of the way that they must have wanted They must have had a desire to do so in the first place. And the way that applies to your like weird sport or your barrel roll example is that that person's want to do that would have been satiated, would have been gratified. And that is a benefit in and of itself, even if you consider it to be minor.
Yeah, but one second though. I'm not really talking about whether it's like my own desire though. So for example, if I had the choice to learn two sports, and then in those two sports I will spend equally the same time to learn them. Let's say I must either choose tennis or the barrel roll sport or whatever. So if I had to choose one, I think by by looking at it in an economic stance, I think I would just choose the tennis one because I would know that it would be more beneficial to me in the long run.
But that is,
Whereas,
wait, no, I'm sorry. That is
yeah,
because you have a desire for the other things that tennis associates with. Like, for example, you can be a competitive tennis player that will allow you to get fame and money and other
mhm.
stuff that you might want. So therefore, you would be wanting to do tennis more because of the like additional things that come with it. You cannot be like a competitive barrel roller or whatever. So
Yeah.
your desires would be like a win in the tennis one if you picked it because you wanted to be famous or get that just a small benefit. Even if you didn't want to be famous, you just thought you could play it with more people. You just thought whatever. You wanted to play with more people. You wanted that additional benefit that tennis has over barrel rolling. And that is why you would be fulfilling your own desire.
So in the end, okay. So what about let's bring more, I guess, complexity into this idea. What if, despite the fact that tennis would be more beneficial for me, let's say I hated tennis.
Then you would not like have a desire to do it because there would obviously be something about tennis which you just didn't like. So if you
In that
just
case, wouldn't I just choose? But let's say my mind is forcing me to choose tennis, or by looking at it in an economic stance, then I would just choose tennis because it's
this
more beneficial to me, despite the fact that I
no,
really dislike it.
then you are saying that you want it first of all, to separate your mind from yourself is to say your mind is forcing you to do something is just contradictory, right? Like fundamentally, in
I
terms
mean,
of
maybe I used the wrong term over there. By mind, I mean just looking at things through the lens of common sense, because you would know, okay, even if you didn't like a sport, but you knew it would be so good for you in the long run, I think you would still choose that sport, even if you didn't like that
yeah,
sport and you like the.
the things associated with it. Exactly. But that
Yeah.
means you do like the sport because those things are associated with that sport. You
So I
don't
got it.
you don't like that sport in it of itself, but you still like that sport.
So in the end, this is kind of like complex trading. So that's the I understand the main theme of
Praxeology.
praxeology now, because it brings economy to, as I said before, as I use the term personal economy, to a whole different level, because then you're literally just making everything. So in the end, your mind just chooses whatever seems to be the best for you. And that's, I think, all we can get from this. And so so in that case, that's why I guess it's very important for us to learn about praxeology, because then if you really know if you really understand praxeology, then I think we could put a meaning to most of our actions and most of the actions of those around us, because then you could feel empathy for them. Am I right?
You're completely right. It helps you understand society. It helps you understand, well,
Human nature.
that's it. It helps you understand human nature. And then from human nature, you go to all of the social sciences. You go to sociology, go to economics, go to criminology, go to psychology, whatever you want. Understanding humans first lets you go to all of those.
I get it. And yeah, that's, understanding humans, that's a very complex thing. But in the end, what we could do is we could learn about fields of study such as praxeology and such in order to advance our learning.
Yeah,
So, for example, the main reason that I really chose to talk about the um, the tennis example is because I wanted to learn about the essentially why some humans are just procrastinators, because they want to get satisfaction fast, and they don't really want to think about the future 5 years from now
yeah.
or even longer. That's
There's
why I think we procrastinate, because our by this psychology of praxeology, then you would choose to essentially barrel roll, because then you would say, "Oh, it's more fun. Let me just do that one. I don't want to
no,
think about the rest."
no, I don't think you're understanding what I mean. If you think that you're looking at fun and like rewarding as two different things, they're exactly the same thing. What somebody does when they choose tennis over barrel rolling is that they say, I'm going to do the exact same thing, but like 3 times the amount in 2 years or whatever, if I get really good at tennis, right?
Yes.
That's what somebody does when they pick tennis, because the common denominator is basically like how much dopamine you get, right?
Yeah, but didn't Kant also write about how he was always, in a constant battle between his immediate pleasures and also his um I guess his pious self, because yeah,
He
we
it's
I
because
think we even read about that.
he misunderstood what the word pleasure meant, because he had the biggest desire he had was his piousness. He wanted to like satiate that pious nature inside of him as much as possible. And that is what caused him to choose piousness above the more short-term things. He was more of like a low time preference person because he chose those like long-term big reward things like piousness for him over like the shorter term things.
So okay, so that's why I think that's it's really so if we were to apply praxeology into this, and I wonder you guys' comments down below. So if we were to apply praxeology into this, wouldn't it be so that most people would choose the tennis, right? Wouldn't that be the case though?
No,
Am I right?
the case would be that every single person would choose whichever satiates their desires better. Every single person, not just
Okay.
most people.
So in the end, you're essentially doing math, right? So you're essentially, if you choose tennis, you're taking um, essentially the rewards that you get from it. So for example, better friends, better um, a better physique and stuff like that, minus the dopamine amount you lose while you're playing tennis and you're getting so bored, right?
This
Let's
is
say, and in the end, if that dopamine amount is lower than when you play barrel roll, in that case, you choose barrel roll because, well, it's higher. If it's
Um,
low, if it's higher, then you would sacrifice your time for tennis rather than wasting time with barrel roll. Am I
yeah,
right?
it's also important to remember that people value the same thing differently. Like I
Yes,
have like a different opinion on like the game of tennis than you do, as does every single person watching. Just yeah, and then also some people are just like more inherently have like a higher inherent time preference. So some people just care more about like short-term stuff than others.
I got it. I got it.
But pretty
So
much,
that's
yeah.
kind of like me. Sometimes I'm like, oh my god, dude, you have so many tests and quizzes. You know what? Just don't even think about that. Just play this game of Call of Duty once more, and then your problems will just magically disappear.
But some of
Spoiler alert: they never do.
yeah, some of the promise in praxeology is that like using the knowledge of why you act that way, we can kind of like change your behavior.
And essentially eliminate
The
procrastination.
the problem, yeah. So, and I think that's
Yeah.
great.
So yeah. So in the end, what we should get from this is this: our brain is trying to trick us. Okay. It's not, even though we kind of think in our brain, in the end, it's essentially the dopamine levels that you get from the enjoyment of whatever activity you have to choose between. So, but if we can trick our brain in a way that we value, long term, more beneficial benefits, or whatever activities, in that case we would just choose that one. Am I right, Brandon?
Well, it depends what you, because my basically, yeah, my only problem is that like separating you and your brain, or what you mean
Yeah, I
by
mean,
that.
I just,
What do you
when
mean
I
by
say
that?
brain, just think about our own selves. That's all. Don't think about brain as a different entity. I don't
Okay,
think
okay.
so. I just use brain as a way to, I guess, a metaphor to represent how we do everything. So this, although we don't think that way, I think everything we do is calculated, and we don't really calculate everything, because I don't think we are really reactionary or reflexive creatures, since not every we tend to think about the future and so on and so forth, and that's why I think our brain can be just associated with ourselves. So we shouldn't, and at any time while talking philosophy, I don't think we should ever separate the brain from the, I guess, the soul. Maybe. What do you think?
I mean, that's a whole other discussion, but
At least
in
in this case, I
in
think it
this case,
applies.
in
It
this
applies
case,
100%.
in this case, it definitely applies. So you're definitely right in this case.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's all. So, Brandon, do you have anything more to add? Oh, by the way, before we get there, since we talked so much about sports today, and our school is has a great athletic department, we want to ask you guys, what are your favorite sports? Comments down below. Please comment. Please say, oh, thank you, Noor and Brandon, for asking. My favorite sport is basketball. I remember the time when I had to choose between basketball and, um, I guess, playing with my Call of Duty game. In the end, I decided to choose basketball, and now I'm fit and I'm very happy to have done that. So
Yeah,
just please comment and also like the video. So anyway, back to you,
like,
Brandon.
yeah, I mean, like, subscribe, and watch the next episode next week.
So, okay, 1 second though. Brandon, I was thinking, I think we should discuss this right now in front of our viewers.
What?
Should we let them choose the topic of the next podcast?
Oh, I think that'd be a great idea.
I think so too. So, we will try to create a poll. I know how to do that. And we will try to get some responses from you guys. Please just write. We have a few ideas between us, but I think we might not just. We don't have to just do a philosophical episode. For example, today it was more of an informative episode. We just informed you guys of an idea which is not really challenged by any other type of philosophy. Am I right, Brandon?
Yeah.
So we don't just want to keep doing philosophy. We want to talk about other stuff as well. So just for example, I was thinking about doing book reviews in this podcast. I think that would just be a great way for us to connect with you all. So that's all. So please remember to like and subscribe and check our channel for any YouTube videos. And just while taking the, sorry for taking your time, but we just want to take this final selfie together, just as a sign of doing the podcast. Yeah. Boom. Okay. So yeah, you're done.
All right. See you
Cool.
next time.
Thank you. See you next time. Like, subscribe. Bye bye.
Adios.
Goodbye. Au revoir.
Yeah.
Bye bye.